And we're back. We're talking with George Addison, youth advocate with Batiste.
Positive images that invoke self-esteem.
There you go, about youth violence and what we can do to stop it. And let's take some telephone calls if we can. Let's go to Steve. Hi, Steve. Welcome to the show. What's your comment today?
Hello?
Hi. Steve.
Hello?
Talk to us, Steve. Going once.
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to put you on hold. Tim is going to explain the rules to you one more time. Let's go to Jason in Charlestown. Hi, Jason.
Hello, Jen.
How you doing?
I just called to comment on Mr. Addison's comment earlier about the lack of education in the West End.
Pretty scary, isn't it?
Oh, well, yeah, it is. But on top of the lack of education, you have a surrounding drug crisis, which everybody's... I mean, most of the violence is centered around the drugs or the gang colors or whatever you want to say, because if it's not having to be tough and having to go that certain distance with physical, aggression, having to kill people over just what they say or over the drugs that you're dealing or whatever, and you're just trying to look like, you're the man in the hood or whatever.
How much of a drug problem is connected to our crime?
I'm not going to say that drugs, they don't impact the situation, but I think what impacts it even more is opportunity. Why are people doing drugs in the first place? It's because that's been demonstrated to them as a way to improve their lot. I mean, they see it as an opportunity, and even though they're going to wind up having a domino effect, a few at the top and the rest at the bottom not really getting anywhere, they still see that as a source of income
and
they can get to.
The cool
the Mercedes
car
and
the cool jewelry.
Everything.
And, yeah, there you go.
Everything.
Yeah, well, actually, it's all like a chain reaction, in my opinion. I mean, it's like people, how he said that people need to educate their children, need to show them where they live, need to show them their phone number or whatever, if they have a phone, whatever. I feel that it goes from generation to generation because they're allowing that to stay in their everyday life.
And also, I think there would be a protective mechanism for the neighborhood with the drug dealers. I mean, if there is a lack of respect or knowledge of individuals from the police to the community, they're going to protect the people in the community first, aren't they? Whether or not they're doing drugs, or is that not true?
Well, let me give you an example. In Shepherd Square, they recently had an officer's car catch fire in broad daylight.
Saw that.
And you have to ask yourself that, probably a law-abiding citizen called in, the incident. But, no one turned anybody in, really. And so what about the law-abiding people who saw the car burn, saw someone actually ignited and never turned in that individual? So, things are connected, and they're not always, the way they appear on the surface. I agree with him about the drugs, but like I said, it's opportunity-based. I mean, if people actually felt they had an opportunity to get a decent education, go out here and get a decent job and be able to take care of themselves and improve their family, they would choose whatever that was if they could get away with it. They felt they could get away with it.
Sure, if they were going to make money doing something legitimate, why do something illegal? Of course, some people do always go to the illegal. Steve, now, are you there?
Yes, ma'am.
Good for you. What's your comment today?
Well, I think it's time for this city and county to grow up. It's time for merger. And there's also another comment I'd like to make is adult education and create more opportunities for these young people. By city and county merging, that would create better jobs, a better outlook on life for these poor people.
Well, I don't know what merger is going to do to solve the problem. I mean, in what way? Louisville police are dealing with this primarily. It's not really a county problem. How's merger going to help?
How's merger going to help?
Yeah.
Well, for example, Argonne is left, What other corporations are going to leave? What other opportunities are
I see. Just keeping businesses here.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's create jobs. Let's help these poor children and create adult education. Some of these children's parents might not be able to read.
Well that's probably true.
A lot of them. And I understand what he's saying, and I appreciate the fact that he also sees a need to revalue human beings, whether it be the young people or the parents. A lot of the parents dropped the ball just under our generation, and basically because a lot of us never passed any skills on to them to pass on to their children.
Well, if you have a mom or a dad who isn't capable of reading, doesn't understand certain words, has either dealt drugs or does currently do drugs, I think it's going to be a lot harder for you to see a path down that road than if you come from a good family background and where your parents are fighting you tooth and nail every time you walk out that door to be with your hoodlum friends.
Well,
pardon me for saying it that way, but that's what my parents would have said to me.
Well, actually, I deal in homes not only in the East End and Shepherd Square and in the West End, but also I have clients who are very wealthy, sitting right off the golf course, and their kids are experiencing the same dilemma that we're dealing with here in the inner city. And, you know, it always comes down to the basics. Every good parent or every bad parent wants their kid to get a good education, wants them to better themselves and what opportunities they had, and also wants them to go on and become somebody and leave a legacy. That never changes. But when you come back to the communities and look where these kids have to spring from to get to that point, there's a lot of disparity.
There's a long distance between here and there. Randy in Louisville, what's your comment today?
Yeah, I believe it all stems from parenting. Whether it be a single-parent home, I'm from a single-parent home. The kids are not taught there's hope. Don't need that education. It ain't going to do you no good in today's time.
So whose job is it to instill hope where parents fall down? Who's there to fill, besides guys like George, who fills in that gap? Where is it going to come from?
It's got to come from the parent. It's got to come from the parent.
Well, suppose they're bankrupt.
Okay, I dealt with public housing. Every day, people on welfare, single parent, the house would be a mess. The apartment would be a mess. They'd be out having coffee.
Okay, so
they don't care.
All right, how do you make them care? If you're saying it has to come from the parents, well, how do you do that?
Well, our philosophy is that, you know, self-esteem begins at home, which is true. And which he says there is a lot of responsibility thrown around the parent. But I also stay in those housing projects a lot, and I go into those homes, and it's normally just shambles. It's going to take an outside agent like myself or someone that cares to go into these homes, first of all, and give these people a cause to find the hook that they've lost, because a lot of times their spirits have been broken. And whether it was through drugs or alcohol or just physical or mental abuse, you've got to find a hook where they want to reclaim that vision of hope that they once had as a kid.
They are motivated.
Right, you've got to motivate them. And just throwing money at them and throwing opportunities at them is not going to be it. You've got to rekindle the spirit so that they can go ahead and get back out there. And I've done that a lot, so I know it can be done.
Sounds like a church problem, too.
Well, in many ways, if the church would have been doing its job, and by that I mean going beyond its walls on a consistent basis, we wouldn't be in this dilemma. And not to pick any particular churches, but churches across the country are all facing the same dilemma right now. Attendance is probably around the low 30s for many churches across the nation.
Because the churches out there, outside of the walls. We'll be right back with more of your calls after this.